Hi, I'm Donna Burton, the CEO and head coach of Dawning Light Pathways. I wanted to give kind of a brief overview of what Dawning Light Pathways is. Basically, we do life coaching, but it's all from a Christian perspective. So I work with people on very specific goals. So first of all, I guess, life coaching versus counseling. Number one, I'm not a licensed counselor. I've been through most of the education for my master's in counseling, and I have a very specific reason for not finishing it. Having to do with some of the legalities that fall in and the way that my faith seems to be ignored in those legalities, at least the way that it was presented at the college I was attending. And so I will not go back down that path until certain things like that change. But that doesn't make me unqualified to assist. But just for legal reasons, I am not a licensed counselor. And therefore, the things that coaching works on are more like goal-oriented, right? So it's considered a short-term therapy to help assess what your goals are, assess where your life is not functioning the way that you would like it to, and it's much more action-oriented than your typical talk therapy with a counselor. I do a lot of different types of methods. Really depends on what I'm helping you with as to what we utilize. Everything is very specific to you as an individual. It's not a cookie cutter thing at all. Sometimes that means we have some trial and error. A lot of times that means I'm assessing what you've already tried, what hasn't worked for you. And really, this has come out of my own life experience. I went to school for psychology for my bachelor's. I spent about 5 years teaching in the middle. I have a master's in education. And then I decided I wanted to go back for counseling. And from the time that I did my bachelor's to the time I was working on the counseling master's, things had changed so much. And it wasn't the same program, but also I had changed. I wasn't the same person. When I went through psychology to begin with, it was really for an understanding. Like, I'd always been one of those people who was good to talk to. I listen well. I tend to give good advice according to people that I work with and friends that I've had, it's kind of just who I was. But I was lacking the depth of my relationship with the Lord at the time, and I didn't really, I guess, focus on the idea of where my morals and my spirituality fit within a counseling shell. And that's really what has shifted at this point. I've noticed that as I've gone through life, all of the traumas that I experienced, all of the problems that I had, all the diagnoses that I had, I tried everything. I did years and years of counseling, mostly talk therapy. At one point, the counselor was like, I don't know how to help you. That's great. What does that mean for me? Right? And so then I started seeking out things like life coaching. I started seeking out all the self-help books. I started looking for all of the different opportunities for self-care, because that's what everyone said. Self-care, self-care, self-care. And self-care is important, but none of it dealt with the root of the problem. None of it helped me to identify where all this stuff was coming from. None of it gave me direction and how to walk through life with these things. It's one thing to talk about it and be able to get it off your mind and maybe able to hear that you're not crazy and it's not abnormal. It's another thing to be given a definite tool that says, okay, here's how we're going to address this issue. Here's how we're going to help you walk through these thought processes. Here's how we're going to help you change your thought processes. But even at that, that felt like a whole lot of willpower. And I, especially going through burnout, I lacked that. And so I finally came to the point where a friend had recommended it's a healing and discipleship program. But everything that I learned in there was that God is what was missing. All of these things work-ish, but without God, the true healing doesn't come through. Without God, the change to my mind, the change to my behaviors, the change to my heart, the change for being able to forgive all of those past people who harmed, right? None of that was possible without God. And so what I do now is keep God at the center. And so when I work with somebody, I help them to assess, okay, where in your life is it that you're wanting things to function better? Where is it you feel like you're struggling? Or what is the hang up that you feel like you just can't get over? And so we dig into that a little bit, and I look for patterns. So I take notes, and as I listen, I'll notice little things that God kind of whispers. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll write that down. Thanks. We'll see if that plays in. And by the end of a session, I've got a pretty clear outline, typically, of what it is that is at the root of it, where it is that we can begin to allow God to bring in his healing. And that's really the ultimate goal. That if God created us, which he did, then he's the only one who can fix what all of our experiences in the world has messed up within us. He didn't make us messed up, but because he's the creator, he's also the only one who can recreate and fix that issue, right? It reminds me a lot of, and there's an old pastor that I had who has a ministry. I can't think of what it's called right now, but his imagery was always like this broken pot, and I can't remember which culture, but they take the broken pots and they reassemble them with gold, and they are beautiful. All of these cracks are sealed, and it makes something new. And that's what God does with us. He takes all of these pieces that he already created, that the world shattered and broken to oblivion, and he takes all these little pieces and he puts them back together as one beautiful creation. And you will turn out much, much better than who you even thought you were going to be. I can guarantee it. Because who we think we are is so much less than who God made us. That has been the biggest revelation for me so far. That as soon as I think I've got it figured out who Donna is, God's like, oh wait, and there's more, And it's not like the cheesy sales pitch. There's always more. There's more depth of who he has created. There's more vision of what he wants me to do. There's more knowledge he is imparting. There's more beauty to come. There's so many more things to us than we could ever even fathom. And so it can be a guarantee that when you let God into your heart, when you truly learn to build that relationship with him, and what that looks like every day as you're walking through life, you will come out a new creation. Absolutely. Because the power of Jesus does not come back empty. Ever. Ever. So, I don't know that I've explained very well what I do, but that's the philosophy behind it. So I'm going to go back and listen to this and see what I'm missing. And, yeah, we'll post another one soon.